What's up, everyone? It's your boy Scott. Welcome to the Scott Reports. Today we're here to talk about Darling and Franxx episode 19, and let's start off the video by saying I totally called what went on with 02. I called it. I'm gonna take the credit for it. I was right, and it feels good because I knew, and it was kind of obvious too, unless you just wasn't paying attention, that she was being built to be the anti-Claxosaur princess. But the reason why she was built and cloned after her kind of had me like, what? Wow, Dr. Frank, be safe out there, okay? Didn't expect that twist for her to almost be a model because he was obsessed with her. That was a little bit weird, a little bit crazy, but it just adds to the insanity that is this series. And coming into this episode, once I found out it was going to be a backstory episode about Dr. Frank, I fully expected to have sympathy for him. I expected to feel sorry for him a little bit, maybe even see things a little bit differently as far as what he was doing in this side of things. And it worked. It did. I feel a lot differently about him now because we see that if anybody is going to be the kid's ally in this final battle that's heading up, it is him. And we actually saw that at the end because he stood with them at the end. But I have to agree with Hero, and that was a great thing that Hero said to him. He was like, I will never forgive you for what you did. I mean, I'll never forget it. And just like I'm looking at Dr. Frank now, I understand what he did. I get why he did it. I see his vision. I see what he wanted to do. He just got a little bit out of hand. He just got a little bit too weird for things to come out even better than they would. I mean, it's out of all the hurt and pain and all the people and bodies that he sacrificed to do his experiments. It's too late now to try to cover that up. It's too late to forgive him for it, but at least now you can start making the strides knowing that he did the wrong thing, and he can start by doing right by these kids now. And this is going to be a very long video. This is going to be like almost like when I first started doing YouTube and I didn't really have my structure yet, so I used to pretty much recap every scene of the episode because this was big. This episode was basically the origin episode of this series, so if I leave anything out, it's probably going to be vital. So I want to take my time. I want to talk about everything. So if this video ends up being 20 minutes, then hey, thanks in advance for watching all of it. But hey, I absolutely love this series. I said it week after week after week. I haven't felt a series that had this much of impact on me since ReZero, because I'm not counting Steins Gate because Steins Gate was old and I saw it already. And then I went back and watched it. But this series, I just have that instant classic feeling every week that I watch it now. And as we get closer and closer to the end, I get more comfortable with thinking that it's going to end in a nice way. We'll just have to see where that goes. Let's get into this episode because it was big. We got a lot of ground to cover too. Let's get some of the big things out the way first, like with Dr. Frank and Ape and what was going on with him and the Claxosaur princess. You know, they sent him along with some soldiers to basically go take her out. Like, we need to take care of this Claxosaur problem. We need to get rid of it now. And Dr. Frank was with this army of people, and I don't know what they're expecting, but they got completely slaughtered and annihilated. And when he saw the Claxosaur princess, he was just so enamored by how beautiful she was that he just couldn't contain himself. He was just looking like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. And then, you know, when she was kind of trying to fill him out and see like what this human is, what he's capable of, and when she gave him that speech, like, so you're one of the people responsible for hurting my race, and she licked his hand, he was just like, oh my God, oh my God. And I knew something was gonna happen, I just didn't know what. And so when she bit his arm off, I was like, oh geez. But you would think after something attacked you and bit your arm off that you would be like, okay, I'm out of here, I'm done. No, that just fueled Dr. Franxx even more. He was like, it's so beautiful, I need to make my own. Yeah, so thus 02 was born because, you know, he had a strand of her hair. I'm pretty sure he started using that as DNA, and we've seen that he's made probably hundreds of clones trying to make the perfect being, and 02 has become close to perfect as he can get to duplicating this Claxosaur princess. So yeah, we knew the series was gonna get weird, and this was probably the most Evangelionist episode that we got, basically because we got so much backstory. I mean, just like I said at the top of the video, I think we have everything that we need in order to proceed forward with this series now, because I was worried that we wouldn't have enough time to cover everything as far as the world and what's going on with it. But with the exception of finding out how you can advance in the ranks, like how Hachi is, and become like a commander, we got the entire backstory of why humanity is the way it is. You know, we don't have the backstory on the Claxosaurs. I'm pretty sure the princess is going to get her own episode explaining why they got to where they are now. But And seeing how things have developed in this episode, you can kind of understand why she would want revenge. I mean, let's put some things together here, because everything that happened with humanity and what Ape is doing and this whole immortality thing that we're going to get to in a bit all revolves around the magma source. And the Klaxosaurs are attracted to the magma, and they have a core inside of them that you have to crush, that is magma. Humans are using magma for immortality, thus they're hunting the Klaxosaurs. So yeah, I would want revenge too if something was destroying my race. I mean, you can completely understand where the Klaxosaur princess is coming from. But let's dive into some of the whys of why this world is the way it is. Most of the episode deals with Dr. Frank and his regret, you know, just he really does regret what is going on with the kids, particularly with Kokoro, Kokoko. Kokoru, I don't know why I was thinking Kokoko. Kokoru and Misuru. Maybe I was just shipping their names together, but you know, the regret of what they were doing, having their mind wiped, them having no memory of what happened, them, you know, laying down, having a child together. They've just been wiped to square one, almost as if they were just put right back into the plantation. They just met all the candidates. It's kind of like it's their first few days all again, and they don't have this relationship that they had with each other. And Dr. Franxx wasn't cool with that. He was like, number one, this was done without my authorization, and that's not right. You shouldn't take these memories away from these kids, because I have a feeling that this could lead to something big. And Ape basically just brushed him off like, well, you know what? We don't care. We're going to do what we need to do. It's fine. They don't need these memories anyway. These kids are weapons. That's all they're going to be. And if you don't like it, then hey, we could just go find somebody else, just like how we found you. So once we saw that, before we went back to like 2025 and saw the origin of Dr. Franxx and Ape and everything, I said to myself right then and there, he is going to help the kids like uprise, because I think this is what we're leading to in the last arc. That's definitely what we're leading to with something that Hero says near the end of the episode. But we start to go back to 2025 with Dr. Werner Frank. You know, we get his full name finally. We found out that he was chosen by Ape, and Ape at the time, they were just like, they were a big corporation. They were this big presence in the world that was changing the world with magma. They was using magma for an energy source. They was using it to store weapons, power, all types of things. And, you know, it just seems like they came out of nowhere with this magma energy, and they seeked out Dr. Frank in particular for his research with cloning, which also raised a bunch of eyebrows, because even the person that sent them there, he was like, what you're doing is illegal. You know, people shouldn't be cloned. This is something that, even though I admire how smart you are, I think this is something that you shouldn't be doing. But this corporation wants you for that very reason. So you started to kind of think, why would a corporation that deals with energy want a man to come there for cloning? And this is where we start getting the answers that we really want to get, as far as what's going on with the parasites, what's going on with the Franxx robots and everything. I'm telling you, this episode was big. So the aim of Ape was actually to achieve immortality. They found a way that they can do this by using the magma energy. That's why you see people, remember back in the episode with Zerome, you see people in these encased tubes with all this orange stuff flowing around them. It was something that they were able to develop with the magma energy that would slow down the aging process and basically make people immortal. And this process, of course, was for the rich and powerful, and that's why they wanted Dr. Franxx there, for his, you know, expertise in this type of thing and to help them along. But it came with a price, because Dr. Franxx was like, in order to do this, humans are going to start to lose their ability to reproduce. I don't know if that's worth it. I mean, yes, we can live forever, but we won't be able to reproduce. So how will we do that? And that's when the light bulb came off, like, well, if everybody can live forever and they don't need to reproduce anymore, then you're here so we can make more humans. Ta-da! There it goes. But of course, things gets a little bit more darker with, you know, the pilots and everything. But the process, of course, was for the rich and the powerful. I mean, you had to have the money in order to do this immortality thing. And man and woman at this point, they were really pushing this immortality thing so far that if you even had a child the regular way, then they were taxing people. They was like, you're gonna be highly taxed if you try to have a kid right now, because we want everybody to do this reproduction, you know, politics, money, money, money. This is anime. We don't want to go into real life. That's basically what's stemming into it, is like, you know, you gotta spend money to make money. So they were taxing people to have humanity the human way. They really wanted to push this art of, not almost as if like immortal and artificial human, because we'll get to that too, but this, of course, caused war because, you know, you had these people who can do the immortality process, and then you had the regular people who couldn't afford it. And if you tried to reproduce, then yeah, you were going to get taxed for it. People were not happy about that. It caused a divide. And then you also have what Ape was doing, that they need this magma in order to keep stemming this immortal for the rich. And these planets have finite resources. You can't just keep digging things up, because if you do that, then you're going to run out, and the more they dig and dig, they will have to go to more locations, and that started destroying the universe. And that is why everything got to the wasteland that it is now. And of course, the rich were going to protect themselves. That's how the plantations were created, because the people that were rich enough to actually do this, they just built a dome around themselves, and everybody stays there, and they're completely oblivious to the Klaxosaurs that are out there attacking, who are drawn to this magma source. And that led to a whole nother party of trouble. In order to stop the Klaxosaurs, they even had to nuke places, which is another reason why the plantations were built, because they had to have somewhere for people to stay. And thus, the Franxx robot was developed. And guys, definitely help me out on this, because this is the type of episode that we got so much, I probably would have to watch it again. Now, unlike Evangelion, this is my understanding of it. And again, please correct me if I'm wrong about this. The Franxx robots, I don't think that they are actually Klaxosaurs like we saw with the angels in Evangelion, where they were actually angels with armor over them and you pilot them from the inside. With the Franxx, I think what Dr. Franxx did was, with his knowledge of, you know, like the anatomy and cloning and everything, he just basically tried to duplicate what the Klaxosaur was, and he realized that it had the same chromosome as a woman, and he built the robot like that. However, once they got into the robot, they found out that it still needed a reproductive system, and they had to take some injections in order to try to stop that. And this is why we got two big things here. A, this is why they needed to use kids in order to pilot the Franxx, because all of the adults at this time have undergone this process. Kind of like 70% of humans have done the immortal process, so they can't reproduce anymore. So they needed kids who still have all of their reproductive functions in order to pilot these robots, because it caused a lot of stress on them as well. That was the second thing. And B, the notion of artificial life was created because think about where humanity is right now. If humans aren't reproducing, they need somebody to pilot these robots somehow. So if you can just keep making kids over and over and over and over, you have an infinite resource to put into these pilots. And that's what things got really dark with this series, just to know that these kids, I mean, we always knew that these kids were destined to pilot these Franxx. We always knew that that's the only thing that we're going to have for them. Now we're getting the hard, concrete answers of why. It's kind of like, yeah, humans threw away their ability to reproduce. So we need to actually make these artificial humans, which is where Dr. Franxx came in with his cloning process. We need to make artificial humans so we can keep having these robots, because we met a character in this episode that was very important to Dr. Franxx. Her name was Karina Milsa. Now, this lady, she was a geneticist, and she worked alongside Dr. Franxx on this project. She was also the first person to pilot a Franxx, and she was very much in love with Dr. Franxx, and he was just so into his work that he just didn't pay attention, that she was like, idiot, I want to have a kid. I don't want to go through this immortal process that everybody's going through. I want to do things the natural way, and I want to do it with you, but you're too dense to recognize it. Then when he saw it, he was like, oh. So, you know, some years went by. They were actually going to get married, and when he finally found a way to perfect the Franxx system, because they found out that you need two people in order to pilot a Franxx, because it puts so much stress on the person that it basically will drive them insane, kill them, all types of things. And we found out that you need a male and a female partner. And what we saw with, you know, we saw that with the alphas. It doesn't necessarily, and this is my opinion, it doesn't necessarily have to be a male and female. I think it's more emotional. I think these two really do have to have an attachment to each other. But at the time that these were built, you know, they found out that you need the two people to kind of take the stress off of the one person. However, at the time, Karina was the first person to actually get into the Franxx. And when she got into it, it went out of control, and the cockpit went back and it like exploded, and she died. She died, and it made it look like she was the first person to die in this experiment. It didn't stop there. Hundreds, maybe even thousands of people were sacrificed for them in order to perfect this method of what they were doing, until they finally decided to say, you know what, we need this reproduction system. We need kids who are still you know, at the age where they have all this stuff and it hasn't been stripped away yet. And that is messed up, because this is something that we touched on in this episode as well. You know, that these kids want to do more. They're not going to take it anymore. They're going to stand up. It was a very powerful moment in this episode with Zorome, with Hiro, with the kids. They actually confronted the apes and was like, when are we going to get to be adults, you know? And Hiro was like, you know what? This is wrong. This is wrong. Give Kokoro and give Mitsuru their memories back. And the ape straight up said, no, we're not giving them their memories back. We can't do it. We can't unerase that. And we know that's a lie, because we saw that Hiro started to get his memories back. 02 got her memories back. I'm pretty sure they can do the same with Kokoro and Mitsuru. They just don't want to. They straight up told these kids, we're not doing it. You're lucky we don't punish you guys, but since you've been doing so good, we're going to let you walk. And this is where Dr. Franxx was with them at the time, so I think this is where he's going to take a stand as well. And props to Hiro for the development and the growth that this character had to actually say, you know what? No. After this final battle, we are done with you. We are done with just trying to pilot these Franxx. And to actually see Zorome break down, because he, at this point, he was the most innocent out of everybody. You know, he still believed in Papa. He still thought that they can grow up and be adults and actually do something. And these humans, when he asked, he was like, how many of these Klaxosaurs do we have to kill in order to be human? And he was just met with silence. And it automatically hit him right then and there. And then he was like, so basically all we are is just tools to keep fighting these things, and wait till these kids find out that they're fighting these things to keep mining this resource that they have. It was heartbreaking, and I like that the kids finally took a stand. Like, we're not going to take this anymore. And even though Ape agreed to it, they was like, okay, we'll let you guys go after this battle. I don't think it's going to be over that soon. They really do need to take these guys down. And I think this is what we're heading into in the final arc. And that was really all I wanted to talk about in this episode, or at least all I can put on film right now, because again, it was so much, and I'll probably even have to watch this episode again because I'm pretty sure I missed something. But overall, I think with this episode, we have learned all we need to know in order to push on to the final, again, without the little tidbit of finding out about the Klaxosaurs and their side of the story, which I'm pretty sure is going to be that you people are killing us so you can mine your immortality project. They have the right to live too. Maybe these Klaxosaurs wasn't as mean and as menacing as we thought they were, because as we've seen through this entire series, nothing is the way it seems. I'm pretty sure we're going to get that next. Only a few episodes left, and now, you know, that the weight is kind of eased. You know, I was kind of wondering, you know, if we'll have a season 2, or if we'll have enough, you know, time to cover and elaborate on this world, and I think we have. I think this episode was big enough to give us pretty much the gist of everything that we need to know of why this world is the way it is, and it's over-resourced. It's over-resourced and it's immortality, because you need that resource in order to achieve mortality. And Dr. Franxx, I mean, wow. That was just such a chilling scene to me, because the Klaxosaur princess just straight up ate off his arm, and he was just so in love with it that he just decided to clone it, and that's how 02 was made. Really? Wow. That was crazy. But guys, I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here. I tried to cover as much as I can, so if you liked the video, go ahead and drop it a like. If you want to hear more, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If not sure it's the content for you guys to indulge on this channel, be sure to hit that bell so you'll be notified whenever I drop a video. And I absolutely love talking to you guys about this series and responding to the comments. This has been my most popular video for a series in quite some time, so it feels good to actually sit down and talk with you guys for comment on end about this series. I absolutely love it. And as I always say, you guys can be anywhere on YouTube right now, but you chose to listen to me, and I really appreciate that, so thanks for stopping by. On that note, it's your boy Scott signing out. See you soon.